Real estate appraisals. Back to that. There are 14 ways to affect the value of a property. Let's talk about it. The principle of anticipation. Buy it and let the city grow. Wait and hold. Remember, under permanence of investment way back on chapter 1, land will always be worth more in the future. On the grand scheme of things, it will always be. Now, I mean like 1920 compared to now. Not yesterday compared to today. All right? Here's an interesting fact you guys don't know that you'll sleep better tonight knowing. Indianapolis is the largest city in the United States that can grow in all 4 directions. Think about that. We are the largest city not bound by a body of water. New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Houston, Miami. We are the largest. So we actually, and if you think about it, I don't know, you guys aren't old enough. Us old people remember County Line exit wasn't even there. You guys remember that? Yep. Mount Comfort was 2 lanes over the interstate when I was growing up. Whiteland exit was a bunch of farm fields. Now look at all that. Those farmers are rich because they bought it in 1970 or 60, and now, 40 years later, oh, let's build a McDonald's on it. What do you want to pay? Well, I bought it for $100 an acre in 1960, but you're going to buy it for $50,000 an acre because you want to put a McDonald's on it. It's called the value of anticipation. Buy it, they will hold, they will move to you. I am on page 313, please. Page 313 is the list that we're starting off. Principle of change. Principle of change is virtually the same thing as the principle of anticipation. Things will change. They will get better, or they won't. Value can go down. But under the principle constant of change, the value of your property will go up in the grand scheme of things. The principle of competition. Anybody know what Wendy's business model is? Wendy's business model. Don't laugh because he was correct.
What did he say?
Wendy's loves to build in the shadow of a McDonald's. And I would challenge you right now to think of 2. You might think of 1 because it's an anomaly, but I really can't. But think of 2 Wendy's that are not within a mile of a McDonald's. Because that's the principle of competition. That's what Wendy's does. They wait till McDonald's does all the studies, buys a corner, and then they go, we can steal their clients, just build there.
That's smart.
Like how Walgreens does the CVS or CVS
Walgreens and CVS. When Walgreens sells on one corner, all 3 other corners of that lot go up in value because they know that something's coming in that will compete against it. Pizza Hut and Domino's. Is there a difference between CVS and Walgreens? Just the spelling. Yeah. One of them's in the black and the other's not. Yeah.
CVS stays open 24 hours and Walgreens has recently not.
CVS is open 24 hours. There you go. If you need to pick up a magazine, some roasted nuts, and a prescription, you got it made. Because that's what CVS has got in there for you. The principle of conformity says the more things look in harmony with their neighborhood, the more valuable they are. Like Hostetler's house on Kessler and Fall Creek. Woo! Doesn't look anything like it. All right, for the rest of this course, you guys are Southsiders. You guys know where 31 South is. Over there, there's a Outback on one side and the Hooters and the Walmart and all that. On the east side, or the west side of the road, what is all that stuff? I heard of business, but it's also houses. So which is it? Are they houses or are they businesses? Or are they businesses that look like houses?
They're businesses that have like houses and then.
So they don't really conform to what a business should look like this building. Big parking lot, pillar sign, all kinds of stuff. The principle of conformity says the more things look like they're supposed to, the better the value you will get. all right? The more things that are, if they are more in harmony with their neighborhood, if you've got a residential neighborhood that's got a business in a house, the value on that business is probably less than if it was sitting in a strip center where all the other businesses would be.
So it's like a cookie cutter house being in the middle of a bunch of cottages.
Potentially, we're going to get to a different one for that. Cookie cutter houses and cottages. We're going to get to a different method of valuation for that.
What about how Fountain Square is like, you got all the funky houses that started before
All right.
they started getting all the
Conformity is one of the rare ones where it can actually go completely the other way as well, where things that are sufficiently weird enough may have value because of that. The Stutz office building, where they used to build the cars, now it's an office building. The other one is the Jaeger office buildings. You guys know where that big glass building is on Smith Valley, west of 135. It's called the Jaeger building. It's got that tin roof arch and the pole that goes at an angle. It's sufficiently weird enough that it actually is, people go, oh, that's cool, it's avant-garde, and it's got a waiting list. So conformity can actually go, either it's right dead on, or it's so far off that it becomes cool. All right? So conformity is a weird one. The principle of contribution we just talked about. Sum of the whole is greater than the parts. You can add certain things too that can detract value. Above ground pools we mentioned. Take a bunch of wood, may cost you $800 or $900 worth of wood. Add it to the house. It's now a deck with a pergola. Could be worth more money. Take that wood, build a house, take that wood and finish your basement. Now it's worth more money. So the sum of the parts, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Highest and best use. Highest and best use, what's the highest and best use? You cannot always say that commercial building is the highest and best use because you still have to deal with zoning issues and size of lots. For example, the house I live in right now, highest and best use is a house. It's on a dead-end street. It would not work well as a commercial building. So the highest and best use is houses. Now we start getting into those ones on the west side of the road we just talked about. When those houses were built, 31 was not intended to be as trafficked as it is. It has changed, and therefore the highest and best use has changed. All right? They are businesses that are in houses. However, there are a few people that still live in those. There's at least 2 that still live there. The principle of increasing and diminishing returns. All right. Favorite story in the whole book right here. It's close. This is a close second to my environmental story. I listed a house over at Kessler and 56th, west side of the road, Pike Township. 2 ladies lived there, Mary and her girlfriend, I can't remember, mid-50s. In their front yard, 72 lawn ornaments. They had everything in their front lawn. They had the gazing globe, the little mushrooms, they had the lady bending over, you can see her bloomers, all that kind of stuff. Matter of fact, they were proud of the fact. We don't even mow the front lawn. We can just weed whack between all this stuff. So we list the house for sale. Day 1, get a call. Guy says, I want to show your house. I said, okay, show my house. Monday, I called him, and my go-to spiel in the old days when we had fax machines, you guys remember that? I would call the other agent and say, hey, thanks for showing my house. I turned my fax machine on. I'm ready to accept your offer. And he's like, well, Raymond, we pulled into the driveway, saw the front yard. Guess what the house looked like? And didn't go in. I said, okay. So I went over there, knocked on the door. I'm like, hey, Mary, can I come in? Yeah, come on in. I said, see all of this has to go away. But we like it. I said, I understand that. But it's too much. It needs to come out of the yard. Okay. Next weekend, Angie calls me and says, hey, Raymond, I'm going to show your house. I'm like, great. Got fax machine on. Send me your offer. 10 minutes later, he calls me and says, Raymond, you been inside your listing? Now, you know it's a problem when another agent asks you if you've been inside your own listing. So I go there and knock on the door. Hey, Mary, can I come in? She's like, sure, come on in. Go in the house. Inside the house, 72 lawn ornaments are now inside the house. The gazing ball is the centerpiece of the kitchen table. I'm like, Mary. And she looks at me and goes, you said to get him out of the yard. You got me on that one, didn't you? I said, no, it's too much. So I went with them to Target to buy those big, the big tote that are gray. Put them all in there, marked it on the side, stacked them in the garage. 2 weeks later, got a full price offer and sold the house. At some point, too much actually is detrimental. I showed a house once where the lady that lived in the house had 300 Hummels. You guys know what a Hummel is? Those little ceramic angels that are about 2 or 3 inches tall, little statuettes. They were like on the mantel fireplace, in the kitchen windowsill, on our bedroom nightstand. They were everywhere. Too much. The other one is when is when you stand in the hallway and you can look down the hallway and see the adult's seafoam green and then the daughter's hot pink bedroom, the boy's black bedroom that he's painted, this is a true story, and then the blue bathroom. It looked like Walt Disney threw up in their house. All these colors. I'm like, dude, it's too much. Paint it. Let's go back to a natural color. The lady she told me it took 4 coats of paint to cover their sons. And I laugh now because have you seen that? There's a commercial about that where she goes, not any color, and he's painting the bedroom black. I had that client, literally. The kid's bedroom was black. So too much is too much. That's the law of diminishing and increasing returns. At some point, the other one that I love is the same thing as those cars, those little bitty Japanese cars that have got the whale tail and the neon lights underneath it and all that kind of stuff going on. There's a term called plottage, or assemblage, assemble. It is the inverse of subdivision. All right, subdivision is when somebody buys a big acre and they sell it, cut it into 2 smaller half acres and sell them, and they make more money. This is the inverse. Imagine buying 2 half-acre lots, pushing them together to make one big lot, and that big lot sells for more than the 2 individual lots would have. Happens a lot in the inner city during the revitalization. You buy the house on the corner and the house next to it, and you raise them both, put them together, sell it to Speedway as a community gas station or a village pantry or something like that. Those 2 lots together are worth more than they were individually. That is called assemblage. The next 2 terms are inverse of each other, and Victoria, this is what you were talking about, where you get a smaller house sitting amongst a bunch of bigger houses, so that small house's value has been raised a little bit. That is called progression. Of course, the opposite of that is when you live in the big house amongst a bunch of smaller homes and the value of your home has been brought down. That is regression. One of my houses was a victim of regression. I knew it when I bought it, but I got such a good deal on it, and it was in the same neighborhood that my ex-wife lived in with the kids and all that. So it was Davis's biggest home, 4,000 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, in a cul-de-sac, and the other 4 homes around it were single-story houses. I never understood what happened unless it was custom built by somebody and then they moved and whatever. But when I bought it, it was the largest home. And you guys will hear this all the time. You go to list a home and the person goes, oh, but we have the best home in the neighborhood. Great. You just told me you have the hardest house to sell. because that's the hardest home to sell. Because if they can buy that home and it's the best, they'll just go move up to the next neighborhood and get the bigger one. All right? So that's progression and regression. Couple more here before we end up. Principle of substitution. The principle of substitution is the basis for the sales comparison approach. It is the basis for comps. All right? What I'm telling you is this. If a home was 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square feet on the 1 acre, built in 1991, and it sold for $150,000, and your client has a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square feet on 1 acre, built in 1991, what do you think the value is? $150,000, because it substitutes directly for the one that you just sold. It's the principle of substitution. If that one is $150 and I can substitute this one in directly for it, then this value should be $150. It's the basis of the sales comparison approach, or the comps that we're going to do. And then, of course, the last way to manipulate value is supply and demand, which we've touched on before, supply and demand. So there are a bunch of different ways that value can be manipulated or changed or altered through any of these. All right, let's stop the audio and move to the next one.